Welcome to another process video. I'm going to break down key moments of this piece and what I did to create it. Most of it was actually pushed in 3D, and then I just rendered it out and finished the rest of the image in Photoshop with very loose paint over and adding effects and stuff like that. Hope you enjoy. On the very beginning of this project, I had the idea of a forest already in mind. In PureF, I had some references pulled together, and I knew what I was going for more or less. So at this point, I was mainly just trying to get some assets made for setting up the scene. So the first asset was getting the ground for the forest created in Quixel Mixer. So once that was finished, I would go into Blender and then use the forest tree assets and the ground to set up a scene, get an idea or maybe a feel for what I was going for, and then just start setting up a scene basically. This was another idea I had for the scene. Maybe the character wasn't just standing in the middle of a creek or something. Maybe he was actually observing something in the environment. Could have been something that was in the water below or something like that. But maybe he was observing something in that water and there was something in front of him that he was distracted by, or maybe the forest was making some kind of sound or something like that. I was playing with a different pose for the character to tell a different story, seeing what that might look like. And then I didn't really care for that kind of framing, so I went back to what I originally had, and then just kept working through the scene and moving stuff around until I just was happier with the overall shot. Also, at this point, I changed the color of the atmosphere in the forest. Again, that was based on a reference that I had. I knew that I wanted to go for that kind of mood in the forest. So just combining like a purple with a green or purple and yellow for the mood would be kind of cool. Now, here I also changed the lighting just to maybe play with the idea of it being like a purple light and then the atmosphere being green. That gave the vibe that it was like a toxic forest, but it didn't really match what I was going for. So I decided to revert back to the yellow and purple colors. Here, I wasn't really a fan of the lighting on the character. I knew I wanted the light to be in the foreground on the character, mainly popping out the shapes of the surrounding trees, but I just wanted to play around there some more. At this point, I decided it might be kind of cool if I bring in another character or some kind of element that the character is interacting with to add some more storytelling. I had the idea that maybe the knight was fallen, maybe he's dead, and he's been there for some time, and maybe the forest like took over him. There's some like roots and stuff on top of him. So like maybe the forest just kind of took hold of him, and our main character is just discovering the remains of the knight. I thought that'd be kind of cool because now it's starting to tell more story about the forest. Not necessarily too much, but enough for the viewer to get an idea of like what this forest is, or you know um, add a little bit more to the image. A lot of this is just going to come down to just play, tinkering. You really can't rush this kind of stuff. I didn't have a sketch made for this particular piece, so again, this was just playing with the assets and just having fun. Some of the assets I was using were also from Quixel Megascans, mainly for terrain and stuff like that. So the framing was pretty much done. I was happy with the overall image, so I decided to render it out of Blender and then just finish the rest in Photoshop. In Photoshop, it's always the same process. I always get my render passes together in one project file and then just kind of start using those to make selections of the render itself and make adjustments. First thing I usually do is the Z depth pass. So I'll get a high contrast version of that saved so that I have a better selection for the depth in the image for adding atmosphere. As usual, I'll put it through ActViz to give it that painterly look, and then create a cloud layer mask on top and just kind of blend it into the original render. I had a screenshot of the character with hair on, so I just pasted that in from Blender onto the character just to give him some hair quickly rather than just painting it in. So here I just decided to get a little bit more loose with the paintover. I didn't really want to hold too much value on this piece, and I didn't really want to take it too seriously. It was kind of just an exploration piece, and just I wanted to make sure that I just kept it loose because it was an experiment. It was not supposed to be anything crazy. And then here, just using the Z depth pass again, altering it, bringing in some darker tones, bringing in some more separation there. So I think I can get a better selection on the very far distance of the image. I wasn't really a fan of the tree in the foreground, so I wanted to see what I could maybe do there and break up that large chunk. I just didn't really like how it looked there, so I wanted to just paint in maybe some other branches or trunks or something like that. A lot of the process from Photoshop was me just kind of doing more of the same, just trying to pick at the image, add some more tree trunks, and just kind of fix the flow of the image. Overall, at the very end, I actually wasn't really too pleased with this image. Again, this was an exploration. I didn't really want to think too hard on it. It was meant to just be more of like an exercise and just keeping everything loose. But adding a subtle detail here where I'm just adding some light, some bounce light from the forest onto the character just to make him pop. It's nothing crazy, but I figured it would be a nice little touch to make him feel more grounded and in the scene. This is the final image that I landed on. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. You learned at least something from it. Let me know in the comments below something you might want to see me cover or talk more about. As always, I appreciate you being here and showing support, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks a lot.